Dude, it's good to meet you. I've in fact, my wife was sitting in my office this morning for about an hour, and we are just kind of reading and talking through our day. And I had your album "The War Is Over" on, which
Oh,
is one
wow.
of my favorite records the last 5 years. That's just so good.
Thank you.
And I said, she said, "Who are you listening to?" And I said, "Well, this is Josh. I'm interviewing him today." And she's like, "Man, I love his voice.
Wow.
It just brings peace." And I think to me, that's a great compliment more than, man, these songs are awesome, which they are. But when your voice can convey the peace of
Yeah.
Christ, I think that's something. Tell me about your journey.
Yeah.
You're a North Carolina boy.
I am.
A lot of great worship artists lately coming out of North Carolina in that
I-
area.
that's so true. And some of us grew up together. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, it's there's something in the red clay, in the dirt down there. I don't know. But yeah, I grew up in church. I'm a PK, pastor's kid, and my dad was also a worship leader too, and was very much into music. And I actually grew up playing drums, and then in youth group did the thing where we didn't have a worship leader in our little youth group, and my youth pastor was like, your dad leads worship, you play drums, you should just start leading worship for the youth. And I was like, I don't know how to play guitar. And so he taught me like 3 chords on the guitar, and so that's where I started leading, and really falling in love with music. And um yeah, I mean, that's I was I was a big like I was a big sports guy and music guy. So I had like my sports friends, and then I had my music friends, and they didn't know each other. And so it was fun. It was fun.
Oh, I want to hear about your musical influences, because there again, that the music that's kind of come out of North Carolina in the last decade.
Yeah.
Like guys like John Mark McMillan and
Yeah.
Jonathan Helser, and guys I'm sure you know and can tell us about. But what were you growing up listening to? What were your influences?
You know what's funny? I grew up, my dad's big into, 70s rock and all that stuff, he was big, like Doobie Brothers, all these, and I remember growing up listening to all those guys. And oh gosh, what is it? Steppenwolf. He used to play stuff like that all the time on the acoustic. And so I had this like this rock, and this kind of a southern rock kind of thing in me as a kid growing up. And loved Tom Petty and that kind of thing. But then and then in the Christian, where I grew up, I listened, Stephen Curtis Chapman was like the reason I wanted to play acoustic and write song. I mean, that was my guy. And so that got me into like really like the singer songwriter like part of my thinking and music. And yeah, going through, gosh, musical influences, I mean, the big one is probably Steven and Tom Petty. That's which is very like two different worlds, but they like molded together to like shape the way I feel like music comes out of me. And I mean, I'm not just saying this because we're interviewing, but I had my for him phase, and I had my it was Michael W. Smith, Stephen Curtis, for him. I saw you guys in concert a few times. And I remember, and I told Mark this because Mark Harris, we've written together and hung out a lot together. And I was like, Mark, the first time we sat down and just had lunch, I was like, are you fine with me just picking your brain about everything? And he was like, yeah, go for it. And so I just went down the list, and I was like, I was actually in a quartet, funny enough, in my high school years, and we did a lot of for him songs. And I was always wishing I could sing as high as Andy. That was my thing. I was like, God, if you could just give. The funny thing is, like, I mean so much. You're talking about my voice and being peace, because when I was a teenager in early 20s, I just wanted to sing like you. And so I was like, but then I finally embraced my low, peaceful voice from the South. But
Well, thank God, because I I I've had to learn how to sing more like you over the last decade, just to save my career and have my career go, a little bit farther. But no, I want to talk about your voice a little bit more,
yeah,
because the vocal to me is everything. And I'm a vocal guy. I'm a vocal coach, and I'm a student of singers. And uh, what I love about you is that especially when you first hit the scene, is atypical of what we heard from male worship leaders,
Yeah.
where it was a little thin and kind of all kind of that same voice.
Yeah.
And again, there's a group of you guys that came out that had this just a lower, huskier,
Yeah.
um, a deeper resonance when
Yeah.
you sang. And I love that you mentioned, Tom Petty and guys like that, that there was life in their voice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's always get when I hear you sing. There's life in your voice, and I'd love to know your testimony. Like maybe not go back to the moment you accepted Christ, but is there a moment in your career that you feel like shaped you as an artist or as a songwriter, or a moment that kind of pushed you into where you're
Yeah.
journeying now?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think there's a few of those. When I go back and look, I mean, we were talking about John Mark and Jonathan Helser and Melissa. We all actually went to a ministry school together in Charlotte and kind of grew up in that together. And I remember those years, my early 20s were like very formidable, and that I was starting to learn to how to write songs and just going into that vein. And I think I was coming out of just leading worship where you just lead, just lead other people's song, like, which is most of what we do, and it's amazing. But I think in that I thought, well, I have to sound like that. I have to like do, have my voice sound like this or whatever. That's like the way you do it. And and a lot of that changed when we were at this ministry school, where they actually made you to lead worship at the school for chapel. You had to write your own songs. You could only lead
Wow.
your own songs. And so I think in doing that, it forced me. I started writing the way I sounded, and songs started to sound like me. And then so there was something to, and the same with John Mark and Johnny. The songs were just, they came just from us. So it was like they fit our voice, and then it would just felt like more and more okay to just have the song come out the way we hear it, and just be yourself, sing like. And I remember I was a little different in some of the ways from the other guys at our school, and just the vibe of the music coming out. And I wondered, like, are people going to sing my songs or embrace them? They feel a little more Southern rootsy. I don't, I'm like, that's what is this church in Oregon? I don't know, sing this, this song or whatever. And I think it was years down. I think it was years of me trying to fit a certain mold. And until honestly, Stand in Your Love came out, and that um it just kind of came out, and we ended up finishing it, and it sounded the way that it sounded in my head and in my heart. And it worked, and people grabbed hold of it. And I think it was because it was just me being me. It was just my authentic sound. And that's where it kind of shifted everything for me. And I felt like, oh, I just want to be me. I'm just going to sing this the way I hear it in my head, and the way my voice. I'm going to embrace the low register, and I'll go up there every once in a while, but just, and I think, not to make it too long, but I think I've had a lot of men especially say how they're just so grateful that that they can sing my songs in the same key that they're written. I'm like, okay, that feels great. I love that. But
I think that's great. I remember when I first heard the song, I brought it to my pastoral team in a service planning meeting, and I said, "We got to do this song." Like, it resonated with me,
yeah,
and I'm like, I didn't even know Mark had co-written it. It wasn't even
yeah,
that wasn't even part of it. Um, but I heard it, and I said, "We really need to do this song." And I remember all of them looked at me and they went, "You want to do a country song in worship?" And Josh, we live in Tulsa, Oklahoma,
it's,
and that's what I said. I said, "Guys, we're in Oklahoma. What do you
yeah,
think? What do you think they're go out and look at the parking lot? It's all pickup
right.
trucks.
If you
What do you
can't do
think
a
they're
country
listening
song in
to
worship
when
there,
these guys? Now you guys are listening to Sigur Rós and
yeah,
all this really cool indie stuff." I said, "But I guarantee you, 90% of our congregation's getting in their truck after service
yeah,
and putting on that country hit station."
yeah,
I said, "I really think this song is going to work." And let me tell you something, just it was it
amazing.
was off the charts the first time we did it. It became a standard for us for a couple of years.
Yeah,
Um, I do appreciate artists that say, "This is who I am. I'm
yeah,
passionate about it." Yeah, there is a market, that I know that I'm in, and I want
mhm,
everyone to be able to participate in the songs that I write. But I just appreciate you being who you are and delivering what God has put on your heart. Do you feel like that there's been a movement of that? I feel like there has, but I want to know
Yeah.
from you, just kind of, you feel like you're in kind of that, there's a part of worship that is definitely going that
Yeah,
direction.
I think so. I think so. I feel like because the more music that comes out that's in that vein, the more authenticity that people hear, the more they pull on it and want it, because it just, when you hear something that feels authentic or feels free, then it just helps set you free and help you feel like, oh, I can just be myself. So I feel like, I mean, even in Christian radio, I mean, there's so much worship and just, and it's almost getting less and less polished, if you will, for lack of a better word. And I think it's which I love things I don't dislike that. I just think there's some, there's some part of the authenticity of the sound that people are grabbing onto right now, which is in turn giving more and more permission for people to just be that way. And I love that. I think it's so needed, and I think it just, if that can free up people to be themselves even more when they write and when they lead, then let's go, let's do it.
Well, we're all part of the mosaic, right?
Yeah,
You do, I do what I do. Different churches across the country do what they do. It all makes up part of the mosaic that makes the
yeah,
body beautiful when it comes to music and worship. I got to tell you, we could talk about a lot of your songs, and we're going to play a ton of your songs on the show when this airs. But the first time I heard Abraham,
oh
I was
wow,
like, I'm like, holy moly, now that's a song. And especially the guitar solo at the end.
yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah.
dude, this is my kind of stuff. I don't know if there's a story behind that
Yeah,
song, or if you want to talk
yeah,
about it or not, we could move on. But
yeah, no, there is. That's I mean, I get, the funny thing is that that's like the sleeper song on, I think, any of my albums, and I get asked the most questions about it, and which means a lot to me because it's probably one of my favorite songs I've ever been a part of. And so the quick story, I was writing and hanging out with my buddy Bobby, who produced that album, The War Is Over, and we wrote all the songs together. And we were in Redding, California, and we were just, I mean, he's a really close friend, and we were just hanging out that week writing. And I remember I came to his house that day, and he goes, man, we had nothing with that song at all. And he said, I had a dream last night that we wrote a song. And I was like, oh, that's okay. What was it? I was so pumped because, all right, this is great. It's starting with a dream. And and he was like, yeah, we wrote a song called Abraham. And I was like, okay. And what else? And he's like, I don't know. That's it. That was it. I was like, okay, all right, well, so that's all we had. And then I was like, well, let's go for it, let's look at the story of Abraham. And so it kind of all started like that, and then it started from his point of view and what it must have felt like to to be asking the Lord over and over again, is this, you're reminding the Lord about the promise, like, this is what you promised me, but this is where I am, and this is what it looks like, and you're telling me to go up the mountain, but you promised me this. And but how he just laid it all down was like, okay, I'll just keep trusting you. And so that's how the whole song, and it was really, to me, it was just a song about Abraham and from his point of view. And that's kind of, I loved it. And I loved that we were thinking about the whole guitar solo. When we wrote it, we were like, this has to end with a guitar solo just fading out, and we thought the Bethel Music will never go for it. It's not gonna, that's way too 70s rock. Um, but they did. And I remember I sent it to my dad, and my dad just was like crying, and he wrote back, and he said, this is my favorite song you've ever written. He said, this song is my story.
wow.
And I was like, wow. And then my wife sent it to her dad, who's a pastor, and he came back and said, this song is my story. Tell Josh that this is just the story of my journey. And I'm like, there's something to that. I'm like reading the words in the song, and I thought, this song is my story. This is like, and then I thought, well, this is our story. I mean, this is the father of our faith. This is the kind of the roadmap for what life is like a lot of times, and us just holding on the promises of the Lord and holding on to them in seasons where he's asking us to do something that's crazy, but we have to just keep trusting and keep saying yes to him. And so that song is really special to me.
And bravo. I mean, you can tell that the Spirit was with you writing that for sure. Very few worship songs have I gone, let's go back and listen to that one more time.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you're on tour with Bethel right now. Are you like
We just wrapped that up. We were just on tour with Chris Tomlin and Carrie Job and Cody Carnes. Yeah, that was.
and tell me about that. How was that?
Was amazing. It was the first time I've ever been. I'm really close with Cody and Carrie, and they live down the road. Cody's my golf buddy, but I'd never really hung out much with Chris Tomlin, and so to be out on the road with him, and then I got to run back up on stage at night and sing a song with him, and so we went to one of the stops was in Charlotte, my hometown, so that was amazing. My mom was out there yelling and just screaming her head off, and it was awesome. But it was just amazing to be traveling and to be touring and have people and hear people worship together and sing. But it was just so great to be around again, another hero of mine and another father in this modern worship movement. And it was great. And then just being with our Bethel crew. So
yeah. Well, so did COVID just kind of tell me what COVID did in that whole shutdown of everything? How did that affect your life? And I mean, did you do like so many other artists? You just like, well, I guess I'll just write and record for
I did.
a
Yeah.
year.
Well, we were already kind of going into a season. I just finished writing for my album, The Evidence. And we were already planning on recording that during 2020. And but I had a lot of travel, I was in my head, I was like, how am I going to do this and travel? We lived in Redding, California, in the middle of nowhere where Bethel is. And it's already hard enough to travel from there. And then I'm going to record in Nashville, but also so I didn't know how we were going to do it. And then everything shut down. And so it just made it easy to be like, okay, well, we're going to record an album this year. And so the only place I traveled to was Nashville, Franklin, North Carolina, or Franklin, Tennessee. And so it ended up being really beautiful in that I could just focus on that, but then also be home more than I'd been home in the last 4 or 5 years. And then started writing more. And then because of all that, I started feeling the Lord nudging us to it was our time in California was over. And so January of this year, 2021, we moved to Franklin, Tennessee. And so this is where I am now. And it's been amazing. And we're still very much a part of Bethel Music. I go back and forth, but this is our home, closer to North Carolina, closer to family. But so, yeah, this 2020 affected us, obviously tough in a lot of tough ways, but it was amazing year of family and getting back a little bit to getting closer to family. So.
Well, you just live a few miles from my daughter. She lives down in Spring Hill.
Oh yeah.
So maybe I'll bump into you sometime when we're out there.
Yeah. Let me know when you're in town.
Yeah. And what's your handicap?
Oh gosh. It's I want to say an 11, 12, something like that.
All right. We're pretty close. I'm heading out this afternoon.
Oh,
so I noticed on Instagram, I see you and you post all the golf videos. Did you take your clubs on the road with you when you toured?
I did. I took my clubs on the road when we toured. Yeah.
That was one of my favorite things when I was, back in the 4M days, of having my clubs under the bus and I would just love to go out by myself. I was the only one that played. Except when Wayne Watson, when he toured with us, he always had his clubs. And so Wayne and I would play a lot, but it was just so much fun just to, get out and be in a new area of the country and explore golf courses and stuff. Yeah. That's where I really fell in love with the game.
It's so fun. One of my best friends and who played drums with me for years and played with Bethel Music for years, he plays with Cody and Carrie now, and he just lives down there. And so we were all together on the tour. So me and him would go play golf during the days. And it's just, I love it. It's so great. It's a good release.
Yeah, it is. Well, is there anything else you want to share? I know I've kept you probably a little bit longer than we had anticipated, but I know you got a new song, God You Are, with
We Are Messengers.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, tell me just what's on the horizon for you.
Well, so that song is really special. The great thing about that song is I didn't even write that song, and it just came out of my friendship with Darren from We Are Messengers, and he called me one day and said, I wrote this song. He actually wrote with Phil Wickham, a buddy, and he was like, we kept hearing your voice on this. Would you want to sing this with me? You know, in his Irish accent. And so I said, yeah, sure. And then I just kind of said yes before hearing it, and then thinking, I hope the song feels like, you know, it sounds like me. I hope I like it. And then we went to record it, and I just fell in love with it. I was like, I just kept texting him. I'm so honored you just have me do that. This is a great song. So I love it. He was like, it's more of a worship world than he's used to. So he kept texting me. He's like, is this a song you would lead, mate? Like, would this work? I'm like, this is a worship song, Derek. This is great. Like, I love it. I was like, that bridge is soars. I mean, it's great. So it's such an honor to be a part of that song. And then so I have another of my songs is out now, Into the Wild, and that one's really special. My son Bear is in the music video, and it's just probably one of the most fun songs I've written and been a part of. And then I've been writing a lot, and I'm a little overwhelmed because I've written so much, and I have like so many little ideas of what to do. I want to do like an EP of like these worship songs that feel a little more broken down, Americana worship type, maybe just me and my acoustic and something else. And I would love to do that and then release singles here and there. So I'm going to start working on that probably in the next month. Yeah.
Well, what a blessing to have so many options to choose from.
It's been great. Yeah.
You know, I'm really happy for you, Josh. You know, thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for, you know, again, just being available to be on the show with me today. And I love your heart and your spirit, and what I hear from other people that know you. It's good to finally get to meet you, and just encourage you, keep doing what you're doing, man. It's life changing. Man, I got an email today from a guy who, man, has been through hell in his life over the last 30 years.
Wow.
And he went back and found Where There's Faith Again, our very first song, and started playing it. And he said, it's literally saved my life.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I was reading the email to my wife early this morning, and we're just like, God, we have no idea what you're doing through us. We just don't. We just do what we do. We're servants. We go do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And you're going to have such a legacy, you know, that the songs that you've written, the songs that you've been a part of, just saying yes to the Holy Spirit to be a worshiper. And you could have done a million other things with your life, but you put yourself in this service. And I want to encourage you to keep going. Even if it gets tough, just keep going, because God's going to do great things. He already has, and will continue to do great things through you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for just, I mean, you guys have been such an inspiration to me for years, and I could sing every word to Where There's Faith right now if you want me to. and probably 20 or 30 other songs. Those shaped me, and I don't think I even realized how much, how special it was growing up listening to you guys' music, to Christian music in general. Then it shaped who I was, and it wasn't until I didn't realize it when I was just leading worship at church, but it was just even stepping into more of what I'm doing now. And I just thought I go back, I tell Mark, I'm like, all of this makes sense to me now, even more. Just I go back and I pull on songs and experiences and times in my life, then that just shaped me, kept me from going down wrong paths, and there were you guys' songs. And so Measure of a Man and future generations, those just and the Basics of Life. One of the first songs I ever sang in church.
No way.
With the cassette tape was We Need to Get Back, because I always got Kirk's part because I had the more of the country voice.
You had that deep country voice.
I had that deep. So yeah, they gave me
deep country R&B thing. Oh yeah, he still got it too, man. He definitely has it. That's awesome. Well, buddy, thank you so much. I won't take any more of your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Go play some golf today. It's gorgeous here in Tulsa. I don't know what it's like
it's Franklin, pretty here. I was hoping to at least get to the range.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get 9 in. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always time for a couple of holes of golf. All right. Thanks, bro.
Thanks so much, Andy.